So at this point, I would like to call up on stage our esteemed panelists who are going to join us to deliberate or discuss the various issues around this day. I'm sure we can all see that the overall theme for this year's celebrations, as clearly marked on the program, is importance of the online space for access to information. However, you'll realize that there's a different theme. We localized the theme to the Kenyan setting, and that is why you see it reads as the right to access information as an enabler for Kenya's digital transformation. So to discuss this, I have with me Mr. Dennis Mbau from the Association of Media Women in Kenya. Please join us on stage. As he does that, I would also like to call upon Mr. Kevin Mabonga to also join us. Kevin Mabonga is from Katiba Institute. He's the communications lead at Katiba Institute. So that we don't risk being called a manel, there's a lady by the name Sylvia Chelogoi from the Commission on Administrative Justice. She's a legal officer on access to information. Karibu sana, Sylvia. I have a gentleman I call my senior in the media profession, Bwana Murithi Francis. He works at Radio Africa, but is a member of the Kenya Editors Guild, the committee that deals with online matters. Karibu sana. I also have Mr. David Indeje. Indeje is a gentleman who works at Kenya Union of Journalists, and we've worked a lot together on matters relating to access to information, the welfare of journalists in Kenya. Karibu sana. Last but not least, there's a gentleman who will tell us what his organization does and why he's also here. It's called Victor Cheruiyot. He comes from a place called Kenya Law Reports. Karibu sana.
Good morning. My name is Victor Cheruiyot. I come from the National Council for Law Reporting. Actually, not Kenya Law Reports. Yeah, so we're here. What we do is we do revision of the laws, and we also publish legal related information like judicial decisions online. And we're here to engage in this discourse to see how better we can serve the Kenyan people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Francis Murithi. I work at Radio Africa Group. I'm the group digital editor, basically in charge of our digital platforms. Digital platforms, we mean the social media platforms as well as all the websites. I'm also a council member for Kenya Editors Guild. Kenya Editors Guild brings together editors from all newsrooms in the country. And also we have members from academia, as well as we try to bring even institutions so that they can bring young editors and we can nurture them. For here, I'm here to share experiences right from the newsroom, the issues we deal with each and every day when it comes to access to information. And also as a guild member, the experiences that other editors also go through when it comes to access to information, especially during this era of internet access. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Dennis Mbau from the Association of Media Women in Kenya. And I'm here on behalf of ED, Madam Patience Nyange, who has extended her greetings to you all and to commemorate this day. So Media Council is our esteemed partner towards promoting media freedom in Kenya, and we are thrilled to be here. So AMWIC is a membership organization that has about 500 members, women in media, and we use the media as a platform to leverage or their skills, and also promote their interests and their interests and human rights. We do this through training our journalists to ensure that they're able to improve their skill set, especially on a digital scale, and that's why we are here. And this is thematic. This event lands in thematic number 5, where we look at digital safety and security, also for journalists as well as women leaders. And we are glad to bring in information and data, and also collaborate with fellow members here and partners here to see how we can improve the space. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Mabonga. I'm the head of communications at an institution called Katiba Institute. Katiba Institute is an institution that works towards ensuring that the 2010 Constitution is implemented. We do that through a number of strategies. One of them is through education about the Constitution. Then we have a department, a legal department. We go to court to challenge areas where we see that the Constitution has not been followed or implemented. We are here because access to information is a major theme in terms of our implementation. We do a lot of work on access to information, and in our line of work, we do a lot of partnerships, and one of our key partners in access to information is the Media Council of Kenya and the Office of the Ombudsman. And therefore, we'll be sharing some of our work that we've done in access to information for the last few years, and strategies that we want to put in place in the coming days to ensure that citizens know the access to information law and they can practically utilize the law. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sylvia Chelogoi. I'm a legal counsel at the Commission on Administrative Justice in the Access to Information Department. The commission is a constitutional commission established under Article 59(4) of the Constitution, charged with the mandate to ensure and oversee administrative justice in Kenya. That's the first mandate. Then we have the access to information mandate, where we enforce access to information on public and select private entities. The reason why we are here is because we are the lead agency to oversee access to information in the country. So basically, we'll just be talking about what we've been able to achieve and the challenges we've had, and also what are the hits and the miss when it comes to access to information, and generally just get feedback. Media Council is a critical partner that we have an MOU together, and we've been able to undertake a number of activities. So thank you, and glad to be here.
First, I appreciate being invited here on behalf of the Kenya Union of Journalists, where I work as the programs person in implementing their projects and activities. And then elsewhere, I also support communications for an organization called the Kenya ICT Action Network. This is a multi-stakeholder kind of association that brings together people who are passionate around ICTs. So within the Kenya Union of Journalists, this is a trade union, one of the oldest. We secure, promote, and cater for the interests and rights of all journalists, and we also support their work so that we enhance their professionalism as they conduct, as they execute their mandate. And this is a collaborative aspect where we work with other partners, and that is also a key element as to why we are here. And based on the theme for the day, we are here also to see how, through communication, how we can be transparent, accountable, so that we have a better and secure society in terms of how we operate, and how technology is also a double-edged sword for the people who practice media, both in terms of providing opportunities and at the same time as a danger to how they operate within their environments. Thank you.
My name is Oscar Otieno from Office of the Data Protection Commission. I'm the Deputy Data Commissioner in charge of complaints, investigations, and enforcement. So, Office of the Data Protection Commission is there to regulate the processing of personal data. And with that, we are here to look at where access to information starts or ends, and where does privacy also begin and end. So we are happy to be here to share with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oscar, and welcome. I want to clarify that we had a very balanced panel, but due to a few reasons here and there, some of the expected panelists could not attend, but they have sent representatives. So that should be taken care of. They say ladies first. I want to start with Sylvia. Why right of access to information?
Sorry.
Why right to access to information? Why is it important?
Thank you. So the right of access to information is a fundamental human right. It is a right that is inherent in all of us as human beings, regardless of our status in society, regardless of our age, our sex. That is something that nobody can be able to take it away from you. So it is something that we are born with, regardless of who you are. Access to information is very fundamental, is at the core, both in the public sphere and also in our personal space. We have to appreciate that with access to information, without information you cannot be able to make decisions, even at a personal level, if you just interrogate the value that access to information has. Beyond the issue of good governance, participation in governance, it is something that is beneficial to all of us in our individual spaces and also within the greater community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Victor, very quickly, Access to Information Act of 2016. What is it? Some of us are hearing it for the first time.
So access to information, I think the key tenet about it is it's a fundamental factor or pillar when it comes to governance. Yeah. You cannot interrogate anything, as my fellow panelists have said. You cannot come into any decision without access to that information. So as an organization which I represent, what we do is we try and avail up-to-date revised laws. There is a risk of lawyers relying on outdated legislation. So what we normally try is, as soon as we get these documents from the Kenya, from the printer, government printer, once it's from Parliament, from the legislative arm, we normally do the revisions and we avail that information online for free. Another thing is what to do is once we get judicial decisions from the courts, we normally just publish them. And I think there's one thing that we normally do, and I think this is of interest to the Office of the Data Protection team. There is protection of privacy, like for minors and for decisions that involve like gender-based violence. So a key thing that we normally do is it's called anonymize. So part of the data that we get, we also try and curate it so that it does not in any way impact on the lives of other people. So we try to give this information, but also in a controlled manner. Yeah.
Thank you. Kevin, I heard you when you're introducing yourself, you talked about the courts from where you sit. Do you think this law has been applied to the latter, or we are still miles away from realizing it?
Thank you, Jerry. And maybe I would say that access to information, when we go to the courts or decisions that have come out about access to information, actually the judgments, the various judgments, and maybe at some point I have some slides which I'll share about the jurisprudence about access to information. The judgments have actually reinforced the law, which means that we are in a good place, that actually most of the judgments have reinforced Article 35 of the Constitution on the right to information and provisions of the Access to Information Act of 2016. So I think on the side of the law, we are doing fine. More needs to be done on, especially and citizens. But two areas: citizens and the government. When the PS was speaking, he spoke about the issue of proactive disclosure. He committed to proactively disclose information, and that is a critical thing. Lack of proactive disclosure of information is what has led to some of these issues in court, and I believe that if that one is sorted out, then we would have made greater progress in terms of implementation of the Access to Information Act.
Thank you. Oscar, the place of data protection vis-a-vis the right of access to information. What is the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner doing to ensure that what it is doing does not impede on people accessing information? What is the nexus between data protection and the right to access information?
Yes, thank you. Very good question. You realize access to information came in 2016, then fast forward in 2019, around November, the Data Protection Act came. Access to information guarantees individuals, organizations to have that right to access the information. But then now where we come and shake hands with the Data Protection Act is that we are saying that before you access this data or this information, would you show why you need this data? What is the level of data? What amount of data do you want? If this data gets into your hands, does it also infringe on the privacy of the individual that you want to collect his data? For example, if it, of course there are exemptions, like maybe law enforcement, when it comes to national security, they will be granted access to information as per the Act for purposes of carrying out their duties. But then now, when you look at it again on the flip side, for example, two industries, maybe the health industry and the financial services sector industry, can your spouse walk into your bank and say that she has the right to access your full financial information? Again, maybe if the question that we'll be asking is, why do you want to access this? If she's not able to demonstrate that, then now the Data Protection Act comes in to protect this individual. And again, on the other side, health information, it's really private to somebody. In as much as you want access to that information, for what purpose do you want it? If it is not for legitimate purposes that is enshrined in law, then now that access to that information again now is looked at if it will infringe on the rights of the data subject. So it's a law that complements data protection, if I had look at it. A very good piece of law here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will talk about the advisory that your organization issued the day before yesterday on taking photos of people enjoying their uji at Kosewe. The implications of that, we'll come to that. But very quickly, David, as mtetezi wa wanahabari, how have we fared in terms of media access to information? Are we there yet, or we are still struggling?
We are there because the society at large, it's linked between information and the media. And how this information is disseminated is what changes perceptions, mindsets, and make whether it's a transformative society or not. So the media, from where it sits, it's really, really tried itself. However, now where the challenge comes in is the quality of information that is coming from the news sources themselves. Because at times there is the news sources do not want to share the information. That is number one, level number one, they just don't want. Others claim that they don't have the authority to speak. And when journalists request for who is the authority then to speak, then you are put into hurdles. Then this now brings in the element of investigative journalism, whereby now it has to take a lengthy time for the journalists themselves to unearth whatever they were seeking, to have time. And when the truth now finally comes out, it's when now you get the same news sources who are denying you access come out and deny and try to correct it. Another level whereby currently information is becoming distorted is everybody, due to the emergence of technology, which is a good thing, now everybody seems to be the source of news. And it is becoming a double-edged. The same sources whom we believe are saying the truth, actually the great sources of misinformation and disinformation, because they don't give the actual facts. And when the media reports on what they have gathered, then they end up again saying, we did not say, we apologize, etc. So again, you start asking yourself, then where does chapter 6 of the Constitution come if you are the public official who was issuing this kind of information? So those are the tricky sides where journalists find themselves. And how are we trying to resolve all these things? Ourselves, and I believe other stakeholders within the industry, they have been doing capacity building for journalists, issues to do with digital literacy, fact-checking sessions, like the information that they are getting within the digital spaces, is it factual enough? And then there is that aspect of even verifying documents from county governments, from state, parastatal institutions that issue timely reports. However, again, some reports are usually, the timeliness of issuing the reports or data sometimes is late. Like yesterday we were just having a conversation, like when the controller of budget, most of the reports that are coming out right now are from the previous financial year. And we understand that this year, we have new people, maybe new governors, new senators, new members of parliament serving within the constituencies. So when these reports come, they blame the current sitting leader who is in office. So for us, we believe if at all the government can, or these places where this information comes from, if it can be even be coming out as frequent as often, not within a huge time lag, because it forces us to go back when again we are moving forward.
Thank you, David. Just to add to that, Senior Muridhi, journalists require data for them to write accurate stories, well-told stories. But sometimes you find that, especially from county governments, and even national government, some information is hard to obtain. Journalists are unable to obtain information. Do you think this is, could it be a strategy by the government to deny media information so that they can spread their own information? Or what do you think?
Thank you for your question. First of all, I think it's important to mention that from where I sit as a journalist, as an editor, access to information is my bread and butter. You can imagine if there was no access to information at all, probably I will not have a job. So that shows how important access to information is to us in media. And as my colleague has said, access to information has gone to a new level because of this digital space. We can't say that county governments and even national government absolutely is not giving media or journalists information. Actually, the penetration of internet and the coming up of digital platforms like X, which is formerly Twitter, and even Facebook and Instagram, and also very active websites, it is making the work of journalists easier. Like if you go to each and every county, you will find that they do have very active, majority of them have very active Facebook. digital platforms as well as very active sites where you can download a lot of information. But having said that, we still have a lot of challenges when it comes to accessing certain information, especially from county governments. And mostly if that information, the county government does not consider that information very palatable or very suitable for it or for the people. So you'll find that there are some reports probably they will not share on internet. And sometimes when you try to reach out a county, maybe a governor or a deputy governor, they are not accessible. And sometimes there's a lot of bureaucracy in terms of accessing them. You'll communicate probably to the communication manager. Despite them having all these internet options, they will tell you, I need clearance from the governor, or I need clearance from this official. Then that takes time. And sometimes you find that even some governors, I don't know whether it is by default or it is just deliberate, some of them don't allow the CEZs to freely speak about their dockets, and they don't allow them to freely release documents to media. So despite us having this open space called internet, I think when it comes to government institutions, including counties, there is still a lot of bureaucracy, and also there's a lot of fear because most of the government officials or majority of government officials, they see media as enemy, or as if you are there to cause trouble, that if you go for an interview, then I'll be in trouble tomorrow. And probably that calls for more of education to most of these officials, that when journalists come to you, they're not looking for trouble, they are just looking for information so that they can pass that information accurately. But if journalists don't get that information correctly, then the chances of them not publishing correct information are very high. And my colleague there mentions the issue of disinformation. We are having very big challenges because we are even seeing press statements officially stamped as officially coming from probably a certain county, but it is fake. So the challenge we face is that when we want to clarify that from county officials, then they say, probably I need approval from this and this, and that thing is already circulating. So they also need to be aware that we are in a digital space. They need to put a mechanism whereby they can quickly respond. Yes, they have done well, but there's still a big room for improvement. Thank you.
There's a gentleman here who works with women in media. It's called Dennis. Dennis, what are some of the challenges that women encounter, women journalists especially, encounter when trying to access information?
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm a man who works with women. Yes, we are a women-led women membership, but at the Secretariat, we harness the power of both genders so that we can achieve our goals. You know, even in newsrooms, even as we advocate for women's rights and women in media, we are also trying to, they don't work in isolation. So we have to enable them to work with gents. We have programs as well, not only for women, but also for men. We have men engagements who work as ambassadors to support the work that we do. So yeah, my colleagues here have mentioned some of the challenges that journalists are facing, and some of them overcome gender, and there are some specific ones, especially let's say if there's a problem like about wage right now and the disruption of the media industry, it affects us all, the women journalists and the women and the male journalist. So, but there are some challenges that affect women much more. And for example, one of the main challenges that we are trying to combat as an association is the issue of sexual harassment in newsrooms. It is so rife, and actually right now we are also doing another study, just to see how the interventions that we have been doing are actually working. And also past that, we are also looking at psychosocial support for victims, because you find research showing a high staggering number of every two, one has been harassed. sexually in newsrooms. So that's a very high percentage, and we are trying to see how we can intervene. So some of the things that we've been doing to address sexual harassment is part of the work that we do is we've been mandated by the Kenya Media Sector Working Group, which is part of the consortium of some of our partners here, and we work together to lead interventions to advocate for more interventions on sexual harassment in media. Some of the things we've done trainings, sensitization trainings among women journalists. We've also, in partnership with some of the people that we work with, organizations that we work with, we have developed a model policy, an anti-sexual harassment model policy, which we've been training media owners and editors and also journalists themselves about the importance of taking it up. And some of the challenges that we face, yes, especially men have been seen to be the most perpetrators of sexual harassment. And this is now a challenge that affects women a lot. So we are looking at how can we involve men more in the discussion. You know, with our male colleagues, we don't want them to be arrested. But part of the things we've seen is they don't know the challenges that that some of the issues that they do, you might think is it's normal romance in the office, but you're actually harassing someone and you might not know. So those are part of the interventions that we've been doing. And it does not actually, harassment doesn't only come from the media houses, it also comes from sources. As women are accessing information, looking for information in the county offices and all other offices, we find that it can be harassed by sources. You've gone to interview a prominent a leader, and then after that, maybe you've come to, let's say for like such an event, you're told, you wait, we'll give you an exclusive later. Yeah, give me your number. Then after that, it leads to a chain of events that leads to, we've seen some of them leave newsrooms, and that has been one of the key areas that we've seen them leaving. The other issue is on digital safety and security as we migrate online, because that's where most of opportunities are now. The newsrooms cannot hold the bulk of the journalists who are being churned out from the tertiary institutions. So most of them are going online. But now we are seeing harassment coming online, trolling, and also maybe even stalking, cyber stalking, and other forms of online harassment happening. So, and what we are trying to do is increase that threshold for them to be able to survive in the digital spaces, because some of them you can't control, and as much as it's a crime and under the Constitution to attack people online. The investigations and even the legal process is a bit hectic, and we are trying to see how we can build resilience for some of our female journalists. So those are the two key areas, and the others are common among the journalists.
Thank you, Dennis. We'll come to the others. Madam Sylvia. They say that information is power. And from where you sit, there's a very strong connection between access to information and attainment of administrative justice. When you look at that, do you think the right to access information has impacted on attainment of justice in Kenya?
Thank you for that. So when you're looking at the right of access to information, basically is people being aware of their rights and also of the obligations and also the services that are offered by government. So when you're looking at the right of access to information and whether it has facilitated access to justice, I would say so, because once we disseminate information about the role that the Commission plays, we are now having a populace that are quite aware of their rights and they know where they can be able to go in the event they are aggrieved. So it is work in progress, but what I can say for sure is that there's been significant milestones. People now know if they are aggrieved, there's maybe if it's an issue of labor, they know where to go. If it is now even issues of privacy, now the other day I had the Data Commission talking about receiving over 1,700 complaints. It is because of that information being put out there, then people are made aware of the existence of such institutions, so that people know that in the event my rights as a data subject have been violated, there's such an office as the Office of the Data Protection Commission, and I can be able to go and seek for reprieve, and I can be able to be assisted. So for us, what we can now encourage the different players is to disseminate information to the widest extent possible, so that once that is done, people can be able to access services, and in the course of accessing the services, in the event they are aggrieved, they can be able to know where to go. Even the courts now, we see we have really gone to the lower levels. We've seen the CJ opening court stations even at the northeastern level. I think we're having high courts in almost all the 47 counties now, and Court of Appeal. There's also that kind of progression towards that direction. So we see once that is done, once you disseminate information, once you decentralize the services, then people can be able to know where to go for recourse, and also people can be able to know where to go in the event they need any kind of support or assistance. And also now we're having the component of alternative dispute resolution, where the courts are embracing alternative dispute resolution. All that is because of also the technologies that we are having right now, where you can have also a lawyer seated here and he can be able to log in. He doesn't have to go to court to appear to a court in Nairobi. They can be able to file their documents through the e-portal, and all that is done, and they can do that at a click of a button. Even the parties can appear in the court, so that even you see that there is minimized interruptions in the court process, where you say you're not able to appear, an adjournment, but now it is possible for all that to happen because all that information is there. It has been digitized. There's connectivity within institutions, and that in turn also facilitates access to justice to the common mwananchi and the greater populace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Victor is a web and systems developer. I want you to tell us the relationship now between access to information vis-a-vis our digital transformation journey and where it is currently.
I think where we sit, technology is actually the media where we use to disseminate all this information. Without technology, nothing could go out. So as an organization and as, for me, as you said your story, even I didn't want to be an ICT practitioner initially, but ended up there. But we still love what we do. So what we do as an organization, we actually are semi-autonomous government agency under the AG's office. We are a lean team. So what we try to do is we've been trying to be innovative. We depend on Exchequer, and as you know, Exchequer resources are limited. So we've been trying to be innovative in what we do. We use open source solutions that require no licensing. And we've been, over the last 5-6 years, we've been trying to transform our systems. I know most of the people here, and apologies for that, at times you try to access our website and it's a bit slow. We're actually working on that. We are currently developing our website because the traffic has actually grown exponentially for the past 2-3 years, and also the data is a lot. Per year we get an average of like 25,000 judicial decisions. So as my colleague from NCAJ said, as the Chief Justice is actually opening up more courts and the JSC is employing more judicial officers, that data is actually going to grow up. So, the challenge that we normally have is, someone said, we have a lot of data, but less information. So how can we make this data that we're getting how can we serve this data in a way that the common mwananchi can actually get it easily? Yeah, because there are many times that we actually get calls, someone saying, I don't see this decision, but all they have to do is, they probably don't understand how to search our website. So we are still on that digital transformation journey. So that journey, I think technology changes, so that journey will never stop. At no point will we be saying that we have optimum solutions. So every day we try to, but as we mentioned, there's human resource capacity issues and also financial issues, since we entirely depend on Exchequer. But lately, we've been trying to partner with other institutions who are able to support us to implement some of the solutions. Okay.
Thank you very much. Before the mic goes very far from you, I want you to hand it over to your neighbor, Senior Murithi. The media is unable to, not unable, sometimes the coverage around certain thematic areas is not as expected. For example, climate change. Is it because of lack of data or information that is making it look like there's no sufficient capacity to cover such, we would call them strong themes? What is your take on that?
Thank you for that very good question. One of the challenges that media is facing right now is the capacity to have journalists specialize in certain areas. And this is mostly being brought by internet explosion. What internet explosion and digital spaces have done, they have eaten into the cake that traditional media used to rely on in terms of raking in revenue. So with the dwindling revenues in newsrooms, then it means that you are not able to keep very experienced journalists and journalists who have specialized in certain areas, let's say like science, health, probably court reporting, issues like climate change, because these are seniors who can easily be poached by other organizations and they can get better salaries. So with challenges when it comes to funding media operations, it also means that it affects the quality of production, the quality of the information that is being disseminated to the public. So when it comes to, for instance, I saw some comments regarding the recent Africa Climate Summit that was held in Nairobi. Of course, we had some seasoned journalists who did a very good job, those who have experienced and have interacted with climate change stories. But of course, because it was a big event, and because newsrooms have few journalists, so you end up sending people who are not experienced in that field. And I think when these journalists go and meet scientists, then there is that gap. You are interviewing or interrogating a very experienced scientist who probably does not know how to simplify that information for the journalist, and then the journalist probably is not well experienced when it comes to that field. But we still have some specialization. But as we continue moving forward, it is an area that will continue having hiccups. And as long as a country we look at funding models and media sustainability, then we'll still, if we don't look at that aspect, we'll still have challenges when it comes to what you are referring to, specialization and churning quality content on very specialized fields.
Thank you very much for that. Kevin, with this transparency in government, definitely it ensures that incidences of illegalities, corruption are reduced. But from where you sit, do you think the common mwananchi, I want to call them mama mboga, when you look at the aspect of access to information, does that mama mboga do they have the right tools to be able to enjoy the benefits of access to information?
Thank you, Jerry, and that's a very important question, because all the efforts that all these stakeholders do, all these activities that do are geared towards ensuring that we have an informed population, we have citizens who are informed, and as you said earlier on, that information is power. So the kind of decisions and discussions from citizens should be from an informed point of view. So I would say that if I would rate in terms of percentage, I would say we are at citizen level maybe between 30 to 40%. which means there's a lot of work that needs to be done, because even Article 10, public participation, which is an important aspect in governance, and which is most county governments are trying to a certain level. You need to have citizens who are informed for them to actively participate and contribute valuable information or opinions that will then help in governance. So with the situation that we have currently, as I said, between 30 to 40%, it means that there's a good percentage of citizens who don't access information. And therefore, our question here should also be, what other strategies should we use to ensure that we cover this 60 remaining percentage? Because if most citizens can be able to get information, let me give an example of a discussion on issues to do with budget. If someone just attends a meeting and is going to discuss about budget, if you don't have proper information about it, then there is a likelihood that you will not give invaluable information or contribution about that topic. So I would say that our focus should be on engaging citizens to understand that they have a voice and they have a role, and that's what one of our strategies that we are doing at Katiba Institute. We are meeting different groups, of course, in partnerships with the Media Council. We are engaging journalists, because if journalists understand the law, if journalists understand some of these things, then it will be easier for them to pass to, using the platforms that they have, to pass to the other citizens. So we also need to have, as mentioned earlier, educational forums. For example, at county level in Kirinyaga here, you can organize an education forum specifically on access to information, listen to citizens on what are their challenges, what they aspire to get from these things. Then I think if we increase such kinds of engagements with the public and special and particular groups, then it will contribute immensely to increasing the percentage of people in the know-how. Other aspects, another angle of it is for the media to report issues related to access to information. For example, a few weeks ago, there was a judgment on the right to information about some petitioners went to court to find information about, they wanted to compel the then minister to give out information during COVID period. So such kind of happenings should be highlighted so that citizens are aware, they know that there is a law on access to information. They also know that they have a part to participate. So I think that would greatly help in pushing for access to information.
Thank you, Kevin. Oscar, and I wish our friend Mheshimiwa Kituru was here. When we have laws that curtail Kenyans from accessing information, are we really safe? And what is the place of ODPC in helping Mama Mboga to access information rightfully?
Thank you once again. And I would wish to clarify that these are not laws that are curtailing Kenyans from accessing information. These are laws that are complementing each other. Because if you look at all these laws, access to information, for example, it gives people the right to access the information from any government institution or from whoever is holding that information at any given time. But as we do exercise this right, we do also now have this other law that is telling us that let's do this in an orderly manner. Let's not get probably helter-skelter and try to use this law and access even data or information that we don't need. So basically it's looking at a minimization and the purpose for which we want to access this data. For example, if it was for journalistic purposes, and our brothers and sisters here would tell you, if you are doing an article for a particular item, let's speak, for example, what Kevin has talked about. If it's about budget, you can go to that in the county information, pick the information, you can access information about budget and all that. But when you stumble upon information about something that is personal to the governor, do you also go ahead and pick that up and take the advantage of access to information and publish the same within that article that you're doing for budgeting? So we are saying that let's minimize that. But then when it comes to Mama Mboga, lots of work needs to be done, and I think we are glad to have sharing platforms with various representatives like the Women in Law, Katiba Institute, CAJ, all that, the CUJ. We are, as an office, taking deliberate steps of partnering and collaborating with various organizations on how we can get down the message to every other person. For instance, like the last financial year, we did an awareness to 46 out of 47 counties, Kirinyaga being included. We will be looking forward to partner with other institutions, including the Media Council, to reach out to that Mama Mboga just to let him know that she can access information from whatever organization. But as she exercises that right to access information, she probably is also limited to what she's seeking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. David and Senior Murithi can chip in when he feels like, because it's a question that will affect both of you. There have been these incidences of journalists, for example, trying to access information from the county government. They go there, if they don't find any information, they go ahead and write their own stories, which most times is not accurate. Where do we draw the line? Because if a journalist goes to a county office and knocks the door and they are turned down, then they go and they threaten, they just write their own things. Where do we draw the line of responsibility?
To respond to that, I'll just say, first, journalists are governed by a code of ethics and is to be accurate, transparent, and accountable. And if a journalist is not able to be accountable for whatever kind of information he has submitted for either broadcast, for print, or for online platforms, then definitely that is a big mistake that amounts to being punished or being reported to the Media Complaints Commission for feedback. That is an avenue for the citizenry to report, even for the county governments or anybody who is aggrieved by any negative reportage, to seek redress from. Besides that, journalists are also aware that for any county government information, there are also levels on where you get that. Number one is through the 5-year plans that county governments develop, the county government budgets, the reports that come from various ministries, even the control of budget. They have specific reports that touch on specific county governments. Those are some of the small avenues, I can say not small avenues, but I can say those can be the first entry points for any person who is seeking information about a particular county to go into. However, the challenge only comes in whereby the nature of not only county governments, even the government itself, then most of the data that is available is in silos. They don't speak to each other. Even when the CS and the PS were speaking about what they are going to do around the digital transformation, digitizing government records, then the question comes in, have you simplified? Have you simplified that information to the micro? Because it also speaks to the heart of what Murithi was saying about specialization. Not everybody knows how to look at the numbers from the budgets. Nobody knows let's say how there is little awareness of how a government annual fiscal year runs like, and how the same citizenry can engage in. And this is also the gaps that we, the journalists, face. We don't play a proactive role in following the process. Many a times we find errors coming when we are at the end of the process, or we are speculating, or when a process is still ongoing, we only go there for a soundbite. A soundbite is not meaningful reporting. It's actually, for me, I usually say it's a disservice to the citizen. Uko na maoni gani? You know, when I ask you, I give you a microphone and say, uko na maoni gani kuhusu yenye huyu amesema? That's a soundbite. It's not meaningful. It's not helpful even to the citizenry, because it only meets my need of, was there somebody who I interviewed? Was there a voice? We are always encouraged to have a voice in our reporting, but is it meaningful? That is always the danger that we find ourselves in. And then county governments, journalists who report in county governments, we've come also to know that the way they source the news, it's not that they don't find the news. The way they source for news, you can find that the clergy that is seated here, they also have their own vested interests in matters that are concerning the county, the operations. So they would want to report based on how they feel it. The teachers are very powerful people within the county governments. Or you'll find somebody maybe who used to be a councillor in the back, but he still has that aura when he's visiting the village elder there. They have some power, but the way they give out the information has their own invested interests. And that is now where we, the journalists, find ourselves at fault. Not that we did not do our due diligence, but we find our fault by going for the wrong sources based on how we want it to be reported. Yes.
Thank you very much for that. Dennis, I know we have touched on this a bit, but from where you sit, if we look at women journalists, what are some of the cultural and social norms that you think make it difficult for them to access information so that they can eventually report accurately? Very briefly.
All right, thank you. I'll closely tie that to the previous question. We were doing a story grant for some specific 10 counties recently for some of our member journalists, and at the very end of the grant, we had 2 journalists dropping out, 2 female journalists, because they were frustrated by the news sources and also access to information. Part of the challenge you find is that as county governments clear out, it's like a crime scene. They clear out all the data, things you cannot find information. So the grant was purely to find out how the COVID funds were used and implemented and the documentation that was provided. But you couldn't find anyone who you could speak to. The guys who left county, they left with the documents, and there is nothing you can find. You look for sources, so you cannot even trace that money where it went to. So that leads to a lot of frustration on that end. And in terms of cultural challenges, we find most of the stories there, core stories that are discussed in the media, mostly the sensational ones, or even the stories to do with a lot of impact. Let's say to do with politics, elections, and things like that. Traditionally, the norm was that it was the men who were sent to carry out these stories. You know, there is a riot in Kibera. You don't want to send your ladies there. Things might happen to them, and you find so most women are stuck to writing features, stuck in the newsrooms, and this is a tradition that somehow it was also by design, because you could find there would not be women cameramen, but camera persons, but now they are there. Because of technology, you have small cameras. Maybe Christine would tell you the time she was at KBC, they had very big equipment. You cannot carry it by yourself. So it's very hard to carry such a camera to even go and do your work. But slowly, the the ground has been changing, and you can see more women coming in to be taking up traditional roles in media itself that were predominantly dominated. Part of the things that we do also is safety training for women journalists. Let's say we are covering protests like what we've seen Maandamano in this year. We've seen, sort of a crash on press freedom, and we have encouraged our women journalists to go out there, but through editors supporting them. Let's say you're with a man, and also your mode of dressing when you're going to a place where there might be issues. So to ensure that we are promoting more women covering such topics, because they contribute to there's an importance in having female voices, because they give women's perspective to news. But I think we have news sources at about 35% of the news that we consume. So how can we increase this consumership? It's about having more women give their perspectives, and this is also sometimes even in talk shows, women in politics, giving them a platform to discuss, women experts giving them a platform to discuss issues. So there is the need to motivate them and groom them on how to use the media as a platform towards meeting that end.
Thank you very much for that, Dennis. Kevin, as we move towards the end of our session, in our various engagements, we always talk about duty bearers, in their role in enabling access to information. From the civil society viewpoint, apart from what we've been talking about, what else do you think is the best approach to ensure that duty bearers give information, especially to members of the public and even journalists whenever they need it?
Thank you, Jerry. So duty bearers, in the cycle of information, duty bearers are critical, and we are trying, access to information basically tries to remove that culture of secrecy. Many people would explain the meaning of sirikali from the culture of secrecy, where some examples are given, even including stamping of newspapers as confidential up to this date. But then I think the best strategy to deal with this, since these are the people who are custodians of information, then just being strict and saying that they must follow the law and the act is there, you must provide information or request information, that is not enough, as much as it's the law and it's applicable. I think the most practical thing, and we have also studied other countries that have been successful, for example, India, on access to information, is wide education targeting public officials, and I was so impressed to see the council training public communication officers about access to information. I think that is the way to go for other stakeholders as well, targeting various key government officials on access to information, so that once they understand the law, especially the aspect of proactive disclosure, then it wouldn't be difficult for them to give information. When someone who has been trained receives a letter from a citizen or from an organization requesting for information, they wouldn't hesitate, they wouldn't read a bad motive about getting the letter or responding or giving the relevant information about that. So I would say we intensify education, targeted education to various groups of public servants about the access to information law, try to simplify the law in the sessions, maybe make practical examples about why the implication of citizens getting that information. Maybe it would help them to loosen up and be able to proactively give information.
Thank you for that, Kevin. We cannot go without talking about ethical considerations in digital space. Victor, what are the implications of the ethical implications of the right to access information vis-a-vis digital or online platforms in obtaining information? Very briefly.
Thank you. I think Honorable CS mentioned about freedom and freedom of expression and access to information. So it said something about anarchy. So from where I sit, we normally present factual information. So I think this just will be an opinion, not based on, as an organization, what we do, but as an organization, what we normally do is it's factual information. We just get decisions we've verified and make sure there is no adulteration. But I think the bigger issue is on the open digital space where we have bloggers writing anything. So I think that is actually something that I'd like my colleagues here in the media fraternity to actually say, as much as you say there are ethics that you adhere to. I think many people in that space, since it's opened up now, social media, most of the time, I actually don't read the newspaper. I actually get all information from social media. But that information, at times I have to read the newspaper to verify it, because newspapers are actually better sources. It's easier to verify from newspaper sources because they have in-house editorial rules, as opposed to anyone who can just come up with a blog and just write any information. So from a legal perspective, I also see why, like even all regimes that come into power, they try to stamp the authority on that freedom of expression in the digital space. That's why we keep getting this story of computers, cybercrime bill coming up and up again. But also I think that is out of fear because there's information they don't want out there. Like we were saying, access to information, I think there's proper legislation, but there's no political goodwill to properly implement it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Oscar, as we finish from where you sit and in line with our theme, do you think the right to access information, which includes data, is enabling this digital transformation journey that Kenya is in?
Absolutely, yeah. Right to access of information, including data, is enabling digital transformation. Why do I say that? Because in any digital transformation agenda, other than the backbone, the superhighways, the Wi-Fis that any government is creating, these superhighways, whatever is moving in within these digital superhighways and the Wi-Fis that are being connected and the hotspots and all that, it's data. So we cannot talk about digitalization and all these other nice things that probably the government could be doing without also talking about data. So I agree with you, and we are also cognizant of the fact that data is moving in any digital and digitalization agenda of any government. Data will be moving from one corner of the globe to the other. The beauty now is that as data moves in from one corner of the other, now then laws like the it's called Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act come into place. The Data Protection Act comes to assure people of their privacy of this data that is moving from one globe to the other. Then also definitely now what we're talking about, the access to information. So we won't be worried about where these information are stored, as long as we want to access this information in any digitalized economy, we can be able to access that. And we are also cognizant of the fact that the data can be stored, data or information can be stored in any location, as long as it complies with the laws of the land. So whenever that, whichever jurisdiction this data is, based on these laws of the land, we can always request for access to this information. So when we are talking about digitalization and bringing into play the digital superhighways and all these other enabling programs, we are aware that at the end of the day, this data has to be accessed, but in an ethical manner, the way my colleague has said. Yes.
Thank you. David, where do you envision media with regards to access to information in the next decade? Will we be where we are, or we will have made strides?
I will respond that in 3 levels, because at the heart of access to information is about truth. Is the information that is coming out from governments, organizations, is it truthful? Is it information that can be verifiable or not? Secondly, is it coming in a transparent manner? Because where we access this information needs to be transparent. People who are offering, we heard about open data. Even as the government speaks about open data, is it open or it's not open? I'll give an example. I'm a resident here at Kirinyaga. The government says it's implementing the affordable housing. I'm being transferred to go and work in Kajiado. There is an affordable housing happening there. That one I know. Do I know the school that is available within that area? Do I know the health facility that I'll be taking myself, my children to get treatment? Those are very basic things, isn't it? But is the government data transparent enough to give you this information? Many times you find yourself, you have to take time out to go and see. People say seeing is believing. To go kwa ground, uone kama hizi vitu shule iko, hospitali iko, maji iko ama hakuna. But if this data is available in a transparent portal, then we are moving well. And then the last level is accountability. The information that you are receiving, can you account for it? If all these 3 levels are able to be met, the future of journalism will remain as robust as ever. But if there'll be a gap between the 3, then technically we will keep on recycling the same discussions over and over. And right now that we have the emergence of technology where information is everywhere. I know internet is a human right. It gives every person an equal opportunity to raise their voice. But are you doing it in a sustainable way? So that certain things like the computer misuse and cyber crimes and so many other laws do not come to us, because even the United Nations says an open, safe space for everyone is good for the society. But if we create barriers, even to, let's say, to women, to the marginalized, to the disabled, persons with disabilities, we are locking out as many people. So we need to make all these levels as inclusive, transparent as possible. Then we will be going on a good note.
Thank you very much, David. Sylvia, my auntie was watching in the morning, and then I think she has run out of bundles. Now she's not watching. She has asked me to ask the Commission on Administrative Justice about the place of information, especially in accessing, I think I'd mentioned that earlier on, accessing justice. For example, when they have cases, how can information help in solving such cases, and where can this information be obtained from?
So information about what?
About how to handle different cases that they have, for example, complaints that they have. If they want to reach CAJ, how can they go about it? Where can they obtain information from?
Thank you for that. So basically for us to be accessed, we can be accessed in different platforms. We have offices like my colleague Ali alluded to. We have 6 regional offices. I don't know where your auntie is based, but we have regional offices, a representation of the previous provinces. Also, we're in Huduma centers. You can send a letter to us. We can be accessible through postal address, through the Twitter handle, the Instagram, and the YouTube. All that we can be able to be accessed through a phone call as well. We also have a e-platform for lodging complaints. You don't have to come to our office. We can be able to access our services. Then also we have referral partners that we work together with. Also on top of that, the Commission has mandate to build capacity of public institutions, and under that we have the performance contracting framework, where the Commission is a lead agent in implementation of one of the indicators. So we train our public institutions and tell them, in the event a member of the public is coming to seek a service in your institution and you do not offer that service to the level that they so desire, and they seek to maybe complain, and they seek to maybe find assistance from another institution. We have mandated all public institutions to have a service charter where they put now the services they offer, the timelines, and also indicate at the end of the service charter, in the event you're dissatisfied by the services offered, you can lodge a complaint to the commission. That falls now within our other mandate of administrative justice, where we ensure that there's proper administration, and anything contrary, any kind of maladministration, they should be able to report to us. So even the MDAs, the different public institutions, they should notify their customers that in the event they are aggrieved by their services, they can go to the office of the Ombudsman. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, is the civil society doing enough with regards to right to access to information?
I wouldn't say that it's enough. It's a journey. So far, so good. What is working is the collaboration between civil society and government, and I think that approach has really improved the way civil society and government work, because both teams work towards the same goal, to ensure that people get information in a timely manner. And I'm sure that the continued collaboration between civil society, the private sector, and government will ensure that even this realization or implementation of the Access to Information Act becomes a reality. There's still work to be done, but I think the progress is on.
Thank you, Kevin. Bwana Dennis, do you agree with the CS when he says that internet connectivity has improved access to information in Kenya?
I think according to statistics, we are at 42% internet penetration rate. And we have grand goals of, I think he said 45,000 free Wi-Fi spots. I think if well done, it has a huge impact. First, in promoting democracy, because people are able to receive more information and make informed decisions. We are also seeing a situation, the downside of that is an information overload, where you have too much information reaching the common mwananchi and is unable to make any decision that may be required of them and easy to manipulate. Also receiving this data, we are seeing media being able to, on a media perspective, media is able to diversify some of the content that they produce, and this increases trust among the citizens. For example, if it's let's say Mashujaa Day celebration, we have different journalists who focus. You have one speech that you have, but you have 3 different reporters who report on that same speech, but on different angles, because they have available information that is there. So once we have increased information flowing to the public, we're also seeing more businesses coming up in terms of making informed decisions for the public, but also for the business sector. Because investors, to attract more investors, you need data, like where is the country headed. But if there is no data being provided by the government or other stakeholders, we are not able to make informed decisions. But also, in terms of relying on data, there is the negative aspect of also looking at over-reliance on data too much, that it kills creativity. Whereby you make decisions, let's say as a council, it's purely based on this is what the feedback that we received. But remember, you have strategic objectives that you need to meet, and this information, too much information now can make you not be creative enough, but you're just following a specific path that has been set.
Thank you very much for that, Dennis. Senior Murithi, in under 1 minute, what do you think can be done to address the sometimes acrimonious relationship between the media and the duty bearers with regards to obtaining information?
Thank you. I think for me, it is just understanding that the media, we shouldn't be looked at as enemies, and as in the media, we shouldn't be looking at those in public offices as people who are always doing bad things. So if we can bridge that gap, then I think we'll be headed somewhere. And then, as mentioned earlier, we need a lot of consistent engagement between the media and those who are holding public offices, and especially during this era of digital spaces and explosion of internet. That is very, very important, because the next problem, it will mostly be how do we deal with public being manipulated through information, especially through things like AI. And if institutions like government and media don't work closely, then I think it will reach a level whereby nobody, not even the government itself, will be knowing what is true and what is not true.
Thank you very much. Victor, where are we headed with regards to the digital space and right to access information?
As my colleague has mentioned, there are many technological innovations now. We're talking about AI, we're talking about machine learning. So there's a lot that can be automated now. So you can even get someone, actually a machine, doing a story. But now that machine, what information is it relying on? So there's potential for a lot of, just to reiterate what you said, misinformation and disinformation. And I think what we need, it's very hard to admit that we need a bit of more governance and laws because when you put more laws, you actually end up stifling any advancement. So I think it's something that we'll see, but there's no magic bullet to it. I think we'll learn as we go. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, our panelists. Personally, I've really learned a lot, actually, by standing here and talking to you. I hope we've all gotten something out of this discussion. Can we give them a very good round of applause for the good job they've done? Do we do it the Kenyan style? Who knows a good one? Ile moja, mbili, that one. So we can start. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm that old school. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana, and I wish you the best.